people don't plan to fail. People fail to plan. It's a common thing that happens.
Oh man, I think that's gonna be a quote.
Caption it right now.
Hey guys, I'm Mahim.
I'm Alex.
And this is the first episode of the Self-Started Podcast, where we talk about college, tech, productivity, and more.
So, who are we guys? My name's Alex Chin. I am a recent college graduate and a New York City-based software engineer. And this is my good friend Mahim right over here.
Yeah, guys, I'm Mahim. I'm currently living in LA. I was born in New York, but I moved out here 2 years ago after I dropped out of school and started working at the startup called Jump Cut for the last 2 years. And now recently I decided to leave that job. And right now I'm working on creating my own YouTube channel based on my passion for ice hockey. And yeah, that's my current main project, aka unemployed.
Fun employed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, why are we starting this podcast, Mahim? What's the whole point of this?
Well, as you know, you and me have been buddies for like more than a decade now.
Forever.
We've known each other since middle
birth.
school. So, okay, all right, not that far. Since middle school. When I moved to our little town in Long Island. And both of us we have our desire to have a side hustle and like really have a business. And we thought that because we are both so motivated to start our own thing, why not start a podcast and a blog that documents both our process of building something as well as imparts the advice and experiences and stories that we've gained from our 22 years of living.
Yeah. At the end of the day, we're doing this as a fun thing, as a side hustle, and really to be a self-starter and to try to make our viewership more like self-starters and kind of progress people and give value back to the community. So, today we're going to be talking about back to college. It's September right now, day after Labor Day, and probably a couple days after Labor Day when this gets released. And people are either going back to college or already back at college.
Yeah, so that's why we thought it was a great time to talk about our advice for going back to school, how to really crush it this semester. And so we decided to talk about what we think were essentials in terms of the tools, techniques, and I guess overall mindset that you want to have going into this semester so you can make sure that it's as successful as possible.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Now, me and Mahim, we went to two different schools. Mahim went to a much larger school than I did, and we both went through our freshman year. I decided to finish up the degree, and Mahim later dropped out and joined startup. But I think we can definitely speak on how to do well this semester. So college is like building a house. You can't do it in one day. You need the proper tools and the systems to succeed. So, Mahim, in your first year of college, what'd you expect, man? Like, coming straight from high school, like, what was different?
Oh my God, man. I thought this was like my gateway to freedom because in high school, man, like your entire world is so small because that's all you've known your entire life. Everyone you see at school is pretty much everyone you know in your circle from your community. So I was really looking forward to meeting a bunch of new people, and finally being independent from my parents, living in a dorm. I did dorm the year that I was at NYU, so I made sure that I really wanted to maximize that freedom and get a taste for it, as well as explore both academically and socially everything college had to offer.
Yeah, definitely. So college not only is great for progressing your education, but it's also a time of a lot of social growth and self-development. So you definitely during your semester you're gonna get a lot of that. What for me when I first started college, I didn't really know what to expect. I was pretty much scared out of my mind, honestly. It was a little different experience because it was the first time really moving away from home and living in a dorm, and really not knowing anyone on that first day, and kind of saying bye to your parents and your family and everything, and watching them drop you off. It was hard, man.
Oh yeah, no, dude, and I definitely had that. Especially the part about not knowing anyone. One of the things I tried to do the summer before was really make it a point to branch branch out socially because
Yeah,
on one hand, a lot of our friends or we have mutual friends that also went to the same school as me, so I had that like fallback option of people that I could always rely on. But I knew that if I wanted to just stay stagnant like that and not really put myself out there, I should have just stayed at home and gone to like a commuter school or something.
yeah,
So I
definitely
really,
push that comfort
yeah,
zone, right?
exactly. So I
Yeah,
really felt like that was the chance. College for me was the chance to really push the boundaries.
totally agree, and definitely something to always keep in mind to push yourself.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Mahim. So, what do you, what would you say? So, people are going back to school, and say for like the college freshman, obviously it's not the same thing as high school where you're going back.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say? Some stuff that you'd probably need to bring with you to make sure you have a good time at school.
Okay, well, we got to start with the essentials. You need a backpack, and I know the ladies will carry around giant like purse bag things instead of a backpack, which is fine. But in that backpack is what matters. For me, when I went to school, I kept it pretty simple. So that was just a laptop, a mouse, charger, a notepad to take down any physical notes, a folder to take any sheets that I got in class, and just a few pens and pencils to take notes on, to take notes with. So I didn't really. I know there are some people that really go all out with like adding like all their chargers, all their freaking uh, like snacks and like deodorant, Vaseline, like things that are like
Their
really
entire house in a
yeah,
backpack.
essentially their entire house, which is not. If it works for you, that's great. But for me, I always felt like a simple approach was best.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
yeah,
And for the typical student, a laptop and a notebook and some chargers will really get you through the day, especially when you're lugging your bag from your dorm to campus.
mhm.
Uh, and hopefully your textbooks are online because those will break your back.
Yeah, that stuff's heavy, man. I
Yeah.
will say though, one thing that I learned in the middle of my college career that was important, and I unfortunately learned this the hard way, was that deodorant is probably something you should put in your bag, especially if you go to a hotter state school. You don't
Oh
want to
yeah.
you don't want to end up being the guy that forgets it, and then you have to like sit in class and then and you just feel
Nobody's
like
sitting next to
icky.
you and you wonder
No one's
why.
sitting next to you. You have to go to like the student center and buy like an overpriced deodorant. You
Oh
don't want to put
yes.
yourself through that.
Buy your stuff before you get onto campus and
Mm-hmm.
use Amazon. Like I know Amazon Prime is free for 6 months to students. It's some good stuff there, and it's a lot cheaper than anything you'll find on the campus bookstore. Same thing with textbooks, guys. Usually, you can find your textbooks online and try to or ask previous students that may have taken the class before. Uh, so scout out your classes, find out what books you need. Maybe try to find a person that's taken that class before. You can borrow or buy a used book instead of trying to buy the newest edition. It'll save you a lot of money through the years. All right.
Definitely.
So I guess let's talk about syllabus week. So syllabus week is typically probably the most uninteresting academically week for most students out there, where
Can't, yeah.
professors are just gonna kind of give you the rundown of what's going on. But
Mhm.
really, this is probably one of the most important weeks, um, albeit other than finals and midterms, because this is where you're getting the full picture of what you really need to know. So yeah, let's kind of dive deep into that. What you need to do to navigate for a new semester of classes.
Okay, so for starters, obviously you want to make sure you know where the actual class is. Um, Especially if you're a freshman and this is like your first time on campus, you want to make sure you have a good idea of where things are relative to each other, what time these classes start. I know these days the 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 web applications that you use to sign up for classes have like an option to add like once you have your schedule, have the option to add that back into your calendar. So you can, if you're using Gcal or Apple calendars, that's something that I used.
Oh yeah, definitely.
To import the calendar right into my personal calendar. So it made it really easy to know, all right, I got class on these days. I know what time it is. I always, if the location wasn't there by default, I always added the location. And I also, for me, because my campus was like relatively easy to navigate. I mean, it was in the middle of New York City, and not really as widespread out as like a Stony Brook or like any other larger state school.
I went to Stony Brook. That's why
Yeah.
he's mentioning it.
Yeah. So, in those situations, yeah, you definitely want to keep a map around as well. I know that um, certain schools have a mobile app where they have the map on there. So if you have that option, get that. This you can get a physical map. Basically, just know where things are.
Oh yeah, definitely. And guys, like, everyone is new at some point. Like, I remember on my first day of classes, I was looking for a CS class, and I was asking. I just asked a random person, like, "Where's the new CS building?" They pointed me to the wrong building, but I eventually got there.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
but
but the underlying concept of asking someone if you don't know, that's
yeah,
good.
and that's an important life skill, guys. Like, if you really don't know, it's okay. Like, just everyone was new at some point, and just gotta ask the question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Also, some things to look out for. Maybe try to find out if usually, at least for my school, labs don't happen during the first week because they don't have TAs. You also maybe if hopefully you did this beforehand before you signed up to classes, you could check out sites like Rate My Professor, or like sometimes they have internal course review sites if it's not like a required class, maybe an elective, where it says, oh, like this class is great with this professor, or this class is really useful, or this class wasn't that useful. And that's definitely something to look out for when you're planning, because just because you're enrolled in these classes right now doesn't mean you have to stay with them, because usually you have a certain period of time to do like add, drop, or swap, just in case if you needed something else, or you really weren't feeling a class, or maybe you took on too much either plate this semester.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So yeah, the first few weeks are definitely just trying to feel things out.
Mm-hmm.
And
beyond the classroom, you also want to like it's one thing to know when your classes are. That's great, but you also want to know when your professor's office hours are.
oh yeah,
Um,
definitely.
One of the things that I feel like is a very underused asset in college is professor office hours. I think a lot of students take that for granted, and admittedly, I did as well. Until I was like desperate for it, and usually when you're desperate for it, it's because everyone's desperate for it around finals
Oh,
time.
that's so true.
So I would say you really want to be proactive about it in the beginning of the semester when there's not that competition to get a professor's limited time. I think, and it's great to get to know your professor and for them to get to know you, so you have that relationship. Uh, you want to, again, you want to use them as an asset as well as possible.
Yeah, it's really about the bigger picture here. So these professors are considered experts in their field, and they kind of know something that you probably don't. So it's better to be proactive, guys, and kind of make that connection with that professor. So they'll be more willing to help you out when worse comes to worse. In addition, not only professors have office hours, because sometimes they only have it certain times of the day. You also can get their emails. You can also get the TA's emails or TA office hours and ask questions to them.
Mm-hmm.
And in addition, I think something that's pretty important to note is getting all the important dates down for certain assignments, like maybe term papers or finals and midterms, because those things creep up before you know it.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess personally for me, something that I did on the first of every semester was I looked at my syllabus. I found out all the dates for all my tests and everything, and I put them in my Google Calendar straight up first.
Yeah.
Do you do something like that too?
Yeah, so I definitely did that because, like I said, those things creep up on you, and the semester goes by a lot faster than you actually think. One thing I did on top of that was also use I used one of those countdown days until apps where it tells you where you assign a date. So let's say your final is on October 13th, you put that in, and it tells you how many days are left until that particular date. I thought that was a useful way for me to gauge the exact amount of time so I can plan so I have like a mental picture of how much studying I have available to me and how much study I need to be doing to
Oh
prep
yeah.
that specific final or project. So that's definitely something that that planning phase is very important.
Yeah, guys. It's definitely the people don't plan to fail, people fail to plan. It's a common thing that happens.
Oh man, I think that's gonna be a quote.
Caption it right now. Put on blast. But yeah, guys, like really, uh, that's what it is. Because your college semester, it's not like a couple all nighters and you're good. It's really really planning it out, finding what works for you, and making sure you have all the information needed for you to succeed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah. So now that we've gone over academically the beginning of the semester, what you want to be doing, you also want to use this time to really establish yourself socially. And what I mean by that is when you're in class, that's when you want to try to make some new friends because at the beginning of the semester, especially if you're all freshmen, no one knows anyone. Honestly, every single semester, no one really knows anyone. So that's the best chance of you putting a good foot forward and meeting people that can end up helping you later down the road, whether that be a study buddy or just a good friend that you end up hanging out with outside of class. That's like the ideal time is syllabus week where you don't have any schoolwork to really worry about. I remember back
Yeah.
in my college days, the first week of college was like just a bunch of campus events, and really no one was worried about school or anything because it's all just like introductions and whatnot. So that was a
Oh
great
yeah.
time. Yeah, that's actually when I made some of my closest friends, ones that I still keep in touch with even now 3 years later, and that I've been consistently keeping in touch with. Um, so that's really a good time to hone in and take advantage of.
Oh, definitely. Yes. For you freshmen out there, uh, I'm sure you guys will have some type of orientation before you start. Try to just speak up when you're talking to people, because you really never know who you're gonna meet and who's gonna be like that person that you kind of take your college journey with. I mean, I know for me, like I came in, I really didn't know anyone. There were some people that from my from our high school that went to Stony Brook, but I didn't really speak to them that much. And what really got me was I was in a lab, a computer science lab, because I that's what I studied, and I was really having some trouble. And I asked the guy right next to me, I'm like, "Hey, you know what's going on?" Because he finished early, and then he helped me out, and I ended up being roommates with him for 3 years, and still keep in touch with him today.
Mm-hmm.
So you really never know. And again, you're gonna like after meeting him, he had friends from his high school, and then their friends had their friends from their school, or like family friends from other places, and you just meet more people in your major or that are close to home, or like maybe from the same area as you or have the same type of interests. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree.
Especially like you said, a lot of times the school kind of do all these events where basically anyone can come. It doesn't matter who you are. Try to go out to these because I mean you can meet anyone there, and definitely people are trying to like meet other people. If you stay in all day and kind of just like play video games or something, you're never gonna meet anyone. And that like plenty of people go through their college career and they get their degree, but they don't really make a lot of friends on the way there, and that kind of defeats maybe probably half the purpose of college of really kind of developing yourself,
Mhm.
not just
Or
academics.
or you do make friends, but
Ooh.
keep playing Super Smash Bros. With them all day, every day, and you don't do a lot of other things that you could have been doing instead. That's actually something I touched on in my article that went out on last Wednesday, where I talk about the regret I had of not taking full advantage of of going to school where I did, and taking advantage of the surrounding area, like the city that I was actually in, and kind of just doing things that I could have done anywhere. So yeah, definitely, well, like Alex said, something you want to keep in mind.
Yeah. Yeah, where is this article?
Well, it'll be up by the time this thing comes out.
Yeah. Guys, what I'm alluding to is check out our blog post on Medium, LinkedIn. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
uh,
we'll have all that in the description once this thing goes up.
in the show
Uh,
notes.
yeah, but anyways, so taking it from first week, let's say, all right, first 2 weeks, I think we can also hit on what's a good system to have to get you through the rest of the semester once things actually gets going, and when classes start to pick up and your
Yeah.
workload actually starts becoming something you have to manage.
Yeah, it's definitely one thing to do all of the prep work of kind of figuring how things work, but at the end of the day, you kind of need to put in the time to make sure you get the grades you want at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so yeah, I think we kind of had different systems. So what'd you really do, Mahim, to kind of set yourself up for success?
Okay, yeah. So uh, I've always used calendars since high school. So for me, using a calendar was a no-brainer in college. I
Hmm.
just find it a lot easier to not have to do any guesswork every day on what I have to do or when things are coming up. So that was already a given. That I would say that's a one pillar of my system. What came in after was programs such as Evernote, uh, Asana, and Habitica. So these are actually three programs that I was introduced to by Alex when we were both in our freshman years.
Shout out
From
to
Yeah,
College Info Geek College Info Geek is another blog that talks about college. Got a lot of useful productivity tips. We'll also link to that in the show notes. But yeah, can you kind of like go into what these apps really did?
yeah. So starting with Asana, Asana is it's like a task. It's basically a task management system where you can create all your tasks for the day, give them dates. It's really built for teams, but you can also use it as a single individual.
Hmm.
Uh, that was useful for. Well, to be honest, I'm not sure exactly. I don't think Asana was as big of a part of my system as it might have been for you, or like it was for me later down the road.
Yeah.
But um, it is basically like your to-do list, essentially.
Hmm.
Habitica, on the other hand, is like a gamified version of that, where it that's something you definitely need to check out on their website, because it's like a super nerdy video game style level up system where you do your tasks, and if you do tasks, you get gold and your character levels up. It's
Yeah.
like a super nerdy way of
It's like
getting
an
your stuff done.
RPG.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's essentially an RPG for your habits.
And it's pretty cool. Like, so you can actually kind of be in a party with like your friends and then see each other's habits, and it gives that accountability aspect where it's like, oh yeah, I didn't see you do this, and then like your friend will lose like HP.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they'll like get hurt because you're not doing your habits, and then it makes you kind of feel bad, so you kind of more inclined to do it.
Oh yeah. So social accountability is like one of the most underused types of accountability, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Super powerful. I think we even tried doing a Habitica together.
Oh, definitely, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
I kind of tested a lot of things when I was going through school. Um, so like you, I used Google Calendar for everything. So I used to use a planner in high school, but then paper really wasn't cutting it out for me. Like I preferred to have everything on my phone and on my laptop. So I stuck with Google Calendar for basically everything. I scheduled like if I had plans with my friends, or if I was uh had a class or a test coming up, or office hours. You can separate your calendars, and so you can have like an office hours calendar, you can have a class calendar, you can have like a friend or party calendar. So it's a little easier to sort out. Personally, for me, I used the Google Suite. So I was using Docs, I was using Sheets, because it's synced up with my phone. And if I was like wanted to study something on the go, I always had it on my phone. Like if I was on the bus or something and I wanted to check out some notes. In addition, something I so personally I did use Asana for a little bit, but then I kind of switched to like Todoist, and then
Yeah.
which is another reminder app, and then I just switched to Apple Reminders. Um, so the way that I did it, so Apple Reminders doesn't have like a clear cut system. It's more of like a shopping list of stuff. But what I found that really worked for me was kind of planning out what I had to do for the week and seeing like the bigger picture of, all right, I got like maybe assignment due in 2 weeks, and I think it's gonna take me like maybe a week, or like those actually like a full like 2 weeks, or maybe a couple days or something like that. So that way I kind of can plan like, all right, I gotta like maybe buckle down this week and kind of get to work, or all right, I got a free week, maybe get ahead on some stuff or just chill out.
Gotcha.
So
Did you use Evernote?
no, I used Evernote for a little bit, but I just found that Google Docs was a lot more useful for me. Just because a lot of my friends were using Google Docs, so maybe if like, so I also had like a lot of collaborative work for like I had a business minor,
Hmm.
and when you're working together with like, projects, Google Docs was just kind of real useful, just sharing a link and then going from there.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah. So for me, it was kind of the opposite, where Google Docs was fine, but Evernote was real. To me, Evernote just felt like a game changer.
Hmm.
So I took all my notes there. I did all my homework, writing in there, and
Hmm.
for me, yeah, it just felt like a better experience. It just removed friction for me when it came to writing assignments, and I was honestly not the biggest fan of writing back in college and high school, which is
Yeah.
ironic because I worked as a writer for like the last year and a half,
Oh
and
yeah.
now we're pumping out written material nonstop, and I'm personally also working on a ton of video scripts at the same time. So and again, and I still use Evernote because it's that useful for me. Um, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I still use Google Docs.
yeah. Yeah, we also use Google Docs
Yeah,
collaboratively when we're trying to plan like a podcast or look at our overall vision for certain things.
definitely. Definitely, definitely.
Cool.
I guess did you have like any other kind of systems in place? Like, I don't know. What if so I'm sure like this happened to like all of us, regardless of the system, like um you have you're tight on time and you have like a lot of assignments due 1 week. Like how would you tackle that? Like
Oh man, now let me tell you, going to the library until like 2 a.m. and just locking yourself in like one of those study rooms and just freaking just going at it. Because in desperate times, call for desperate measures, my friends. And trust me, and no matter how much you think there will not be desperate measures, unless you have like the most like non-real major that you're working on, like this will happen to you, and there's going to be times where you have to really just cram. And I feel like systems are really aren't designed to help you in those situations. They're more designed to prevent those situations.
Definitely.
So yeah, I would really say like at those times you really just gotta get some Red Bull and just go for it.
Yeah, but every once in a while, energy drinks too often is not good for you.
Yeah, you do not want to develop an addiction to caffeinated drinks, because if you do, you might get a lot of cavities. And we both know someone who has a lot of cavities because of his particular affinity towards caffeinated drinks.
Yeah,
you don't want to go down that road.
So basically, what happened? We have another high school friend. His name is Richie, and he drinks soda with every meal. He doesn't drink any water.
Put him out on blast.
Yeah, and he's got like cavities and all in every like 30 cavities or something, and you like he has more cavities than teeth, which is crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
And
it's true.
you don't want to be there. So have a system in place. Drink water, guys. Stay hydrated.
Yes,
it's better for you.
Stay hydrated. I stay hydrated. Okay.
Yeah.
So, bringing it back to the focus, I think the last thing we can touch on is, so now that, let's say, you know where your classes are, you got your syllabus down, your academics for the foreseeable semester is planned out, you have a system established, hopefully. And so now what do you do? Well, what else can you do to make sure that you have as good of a semester as possible? How do you maximize the ROI of your semester?
I don't know. How do you maximize that ROI?
Well, for me, the conversation really starts with, you got to know your why, and like which means what are your goals for the semester, whether that be GPA, socially, fitness wise, how this semester plays into getting your degree. How does it play into your long-term career goals? Do you want to have a side hustle? Do you want to network with certain people? Do you want to join a certain club? Those are the type of things that I think you should ideally figure out sooner rather than later. And that doesn't mean they have to be concrete answers. That they can change as needed. But I think one concept that I'm a big fan of is clarity. And if you have something that you're aiming towards, everything becomes a lot more simple. So I would first say start with your goals for the semester.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with that. So every semester, something that like I usually did was I had a certain goal for whatever semester I had. So like the first goal, I remember actually speaking with you like the summer before we went off to school about how like I wanted to actually put myself out there and meet more people.
This is
And
true.
I definitely did that. And I guess really having your priorities straight and taking the actionable steps for whatever you're aiming towards. Because guys, like we said before, college isn't all about just classes and grades and your GPA. It's much more than that, where you're meeting a lot of people, you're networking with people, you're learning more about yourself and how you fit in the world. Because this is really the first time for a lot of people that they're away from their parents and like their family household and out on their own. So I think we're gonna definitely touch more on long-term goals and kind of like our experiences in our college careers in future podcasts. But yeah, guys, thanks for listening. So once again, we're the Self-Started Podcast. We post articles every Monday through Saturday, and podcast every Sunday. Uh, we're just starting right now, so do us a big favor if you guys could really follow us on our social media tags, and we'll plug those in on the show notes.
Yes. Get
And
in on that Instagram, that LinkedIn, that TikTok, that YouTube, that Instagram, that Twitter. Anything you use, anything you're using to listen to this podcast, please get on, because we got a bunch of great content for you guys coming out. Things that are really important to us, and we know that it's going to provide value to a lot of people. So you definitely don't want to miss out.
Definitely. And yeah, so maybe if you guys have any questions, maybe what we could do to like what other topics you want to talk about later that involve in college or tech or fitness or lifestyle or finance, because we're definitely going to go more into that as we get into more articles and get into the grind of things. But yeah, thanks again. All right.
Yes, cool. Before we go, yeah. So, like you said, let us know your thoughts on this podcast. Let us know what you guys, what advice you guys have for starting off the semester well and writing that into throughout the entire year. And be sure to, again, share this with your friends. Let us know what you want to talk about next. And yeah, thanks for listening. I'm Mahim.
I'm Alex, and have a good week, guys. Stay hydrated. Signing off.